Hi everyone, welcome to Enterprise TV Center-ECD. Today we are going to be talking about food spoilage, how to prevent it, and we are talking from the angle of agro processors, what they need to do. My name is Ihedimma Kawekwune. I'm a food technologist. I work at Emisk Foods and FDI Hub, and for the past 8 years we have been in the food industry trying to get better, trying to understand the industry, to grow and to help others grow also. So today we'll be looking at food spoilage. What exactly is food spoilage? Food spoilage refers to anything that makes the food undesirable to the consumer or unsuitable for human consumption. So when a food, for instance, has crumbled up, it may not have spoiled technically, like is rotten, but it's undesirable to the consumer. To the consumer, it is spoiled food. You have spoiled the product. So these are the areas we need to look at. We are looking at 4 major factors that cause food spoilage. Number 1 is microbial activity. You need to pay attention to microbial activity in your environment as a food producer, as an agro processor. Microbes are, of course, tiny things. We can't see them, but they multiply rapidly once the atmosphere is right, and they degrade biological substances, mostly, of course, food. So when you have your environment, when you have contamination in your environment, contaminated by bacteria, virus, fungi, mold, you find out that these things gain access into the food product, and it will eventually cause spoilage in the food. So what you need to do as a food producer, you need to ensure that your environment is very clean where the food is being produced. Another reason why food spoil is enzymic reaction. An enzyme, they are like biological catalysts. They cause reactions in food without directly being involved in the reaction. Let me give an example, like Maillard browning. The browning that happens on some starchy food like yam, when you cut yam immediately, it rapidly begins to turn dark, to get dark brown color. It's a kind of spoilage, because when you have the yam turning brown instead of white, it's becoming undesirable to the customers, and also you may also have flavor changes. So these are kind of spoilage that are caused by enzymes. The food does not have microbial contamination, but because of oxidation and enzymic activities, it is beginning to change and become undesirable or unsuitable for human consumption. Also, physical factors, that is another factor that lead to food spoilage that food processors must pay attention to. External factors such as temperature, humidity, light also. These are the things, that physical factors that can lead to food spoilage. There are food, when you look at certain product labels, you see keep in a dark place. You may see some products are packaged in dark containers. It is not always fancy. There are food products that are prone to oxidation, and some of them that are photosensitive, that need to be protected from light. The ones that can easily be oxidized, especially food products that have certain oils in them, you find out that they are protected in airtight containers. Well, some of them may get oxidized or just absorb moisture. Like when you have biscuits and you don't package it properly, it's going to absorb moisture from the environment. So the 4 major things you need to watch out for as a food processor, or even as a homemaker, because these factors also are very relevant in managing food in the home: microbial contamination, enzymic reaction, physical factors, and also finally the packaging, how you protect the food after the production. I want us to look at how spoilage affects you as an agro processor. How does food spoilage affect you? It's not really a customer's problem. When you produce a product, it's not really at its best quality, you quickly push it into the market. I met someone in their production processes. The beans, they make a beans flour, and the beans darkened so much. they didn't like it, but hey, they pushed it down to the customer quickly and sold it off. Now, when you are doing such things, I want every food processor to understand that spoilage is not just the customer's problem, it is your problem also as a food processor. Number one is your product quality. Your product quality is the only thing that speaks for you. Forget about branding, forget about the publicity, marketing, ads, and all that. If I finally have your product in my hand as a consumer, it is the product that is confirming all the things your marketing ads has been saying. And if I get that product in my hand, I taste it, it does not match with what your promotions have been saying, I'm not going to buy another day. And not just that, consumers have a certain behavior. You need to understand consumer behavior. Let me use myself for an instance, like a typical Nigerian consumer. If I taste your product and it tastes very good, I'm going to enjoy it and move on. But if it tastes bad, tendencies for me to complain to my next door neighbor or to my desk mate at the office and say, oh, I got this biscuit, it tastes whack, is almost 80%. So when you release a bad product into the market, it makes a mess of all your marketing activities. So don't do it. For you not to do it, you need to understand spoilage and prevent it. Product quality directly affects consumer satisfaction. If you keep getting poor rating, people buy online these days. Everybody is encouraged to move their products from being brick and mortar to online. So everybody is encouraged to have online shops so that people from anywhere can buy from you. What makes people buy from you? People who don't know you, who don't know your location. What makes them buy from you is to go and check your rating and consumers' comments. Now, if consumers, remember, consumers have more tendency to make negative comments than positive. Most consumers will walk away if the product is good, but come back to complain if it's bad. If your rating online is always showing complaints, then you're running into problem. You're going to scare away customers that want to try your product for the first time. So consumer satisfaction is another thing that becomes a problem for you as a producer. Now, another one is your reputation and brand image. As a producer, you need to protect your brand. You need to protect your image and consumer perception. I always want people to see Emisk Foods at the best, anytime, anywhere. And that rubs up on us that any product we release in the market, people buy it because it's Emisk Foods. But what if we did not promote our brand to become known in our environment? You find out that you have a problem. Or if after promoting your brand, you now release products that are inconsistent with your brand values, you're going to run into problems. Another way that food spoilage affects agro processors is it is going to cost you money. It's going to cost you a lot of money. If you prevent spoilage, prevention, they always say, is better than cure. It's better for you to understand what causes food spoilage so that from your farming, from your farmers, you're bringing your harvest into your warehouse, you're storing as raw materials and everything, you're preventing raw spoilage per time. If you happen to have spoilage issues, you are going to spend money cleaning, you're going to spend money disinfecting, you're going to spend extra money evacuating spoiled products. I have seen farmers that are looking for where to bury dead fish. It becomes a nuisance to you, and you're going to spend money to evacuate the spoiled food products. You're going to spend all money. So it's more expensive to handle spoiled food than to prevent spoilage. So that's the economic impact that it has on you. The next one is consumer safety. If you're having spoilage around you, remember, these microbes, they can be in the air, they can be on the surfaces, they can be in the food product. If you do not prevent spoilage and your warehouse or your storage room has contaminated food, even when you evacuate the contaminated food, if you do not clean up properly and disinfect thoroughly, the new batch of products you are bringing into that may also develop the same spoilage issues. These products, even though they have not spoiled in your hand, if you release it to the consumers, sometimes their shelf life will be shorter than what is on your label. And that poses danger to the public. So as food processors, we owe it as a duty to protect consumers, to protect the public from contaminated food products or from any form of epidemic as a result of spoilage in food. Another reason why you should pay attention and understand food spoilage is due to regulatory compliance. Yes, regulatory compliance is very important. People can go to jail. People can pay heavy fines for not abiding with compliance or failing when they do spot check in your processing facility because of contamination. So it's important for you to pay attention and be on the right side of the law. And finally, what it means for you as a food processor or agro processor to invest in understanding spoilage is that in your bid to prevent spoilage, you are going to create new products. I don't know if you get that. Let me give you an example. Let's say we have tomato, for instance, and you are thinking, how do I preserve these tomatoes? You may consider drying it. Dried tomatoes is different from fresh tomatoes, so you have a new product. If you have dried tomatoes, or you can also have canned tomatoes, that's a different product. Another method is freezing. If you freeze it and you have frozen tomatoes, that's a different product. If you add preservatives and spices to it, that's a different product. So if you invest time and effort trying to understand spoilage and to prevent it, you're going to diversify your product and have different products from the same raw materials, and that is extra income for you and more consumer loyalty. Now we're going to look at practical ways to prevent spoilage in your food processing business. I'm going to be quick on this side. What do you need to do to prevent food spoilage? Now, I'm going to give the headlines. You as a food processor, you know already that you're a researcher. So you're going to take these headlines and go and research on them, expand on them, and understand it as it pertains to your production space, the raw materials you're working, and the people around you. So number one is good manufacturing practice. GMP. Go and research on it and learn it. Understand good manufacturing practice and keep to it. Another one is proper handling and storage techniques. Most of the people that have problems with spoilage, it happens either in the warehousing of raw materials or in the storage space for the finished product. Go and understand proper product handling for the product you are working with. Another one is packaging. Your packaging has to do its work. It must protect the food product. So look at the product you are using. Is your product packaging, I know it's beautiful, but is it effective? Is it doing its work? Then if not, you need to change it. You need to devise a new form of packaging. Regular quality control measures. What are the control measures you keep in place to ensure that your product quality remains intact? You don't just have to read about it. You have to look at your production processes and itemize your quality control measures. These are called HACCP, hazard analysis and critical control points. Google it, find out what it is, tailor it down to your production process. Another one is use of preservatives. A lot of SMEs in the food space are not really using preservatives. Why? Maybe because of a knowledge gap, they don't understand it, they are afraid of chemicals, or they will just want to brag that our product does not have preservatives. See, food safety is very, very important. It is better you put preservative in a food product and consumer eats it and is safe and gets maybe 80% of nutrients or even 50% of nutrients than you bring a food product that has 100% of nutrients with bacteria. So consider preservatives. Either there are natural preservatives you can use, you need to research on it, or you can also have chemical preservatives. Also research on it to understand dosage, to understand quantity you should put and all that. It should be part of your batch formulation as a food processor. So go and work on that. You should also look at traceabilities. Traceability has to do with tracing the source of the food products you are using. The product you are using as a raw material, where did it come from? How was it processed? How was it produced? Before you bought it as a raw material, remember it could be somebody's finished product. Let's say you're using cassava flour. It's somebody that produced the cassava flour as his finished product before you got it as your raw material. So you need to trace what you are using, where did it come from? In case there are issues in those areas, you'll be able to trace back. Finally is employee training. You can't go wrong with employee training. Your team must be trained thoroughly. Apart from training them in HACCP and good manufacturing practice, good hygiene practice, your team working with you in a food processing facility also have to understand how you work and your SOP, working with it and making sure that your food products you are producing match what you have told the consumers on your label that this is what you are producing. At FDI Hub, we run all these trainings. We help SMEs with food product development. We help SMEs in developing their SOPs and helping them with NAFDAC certification and all that. So I've given you topics of what you need to watch out for. If you want to do it yourself, the internet is vast. You can take courses online. If you want us to do it for you, you can also come around. We can help you, walk you through your product development and every other thing. So this is all for Food Spoilage on Food Tech Talk with Mrs. K. I'm glad you tuned in today to listen to us, and thank you very much for that. I hope you have subscribed. If not, please subscribe to this channel. Click on the notification bell button so that you can get notified anytime we release a new video. My name is Ihedimma Kawekwune. Thank you for watching today's episode.